Elementary school students are not the only ones asking for a bigger piece of the budget pie.
College students across the state say lawmakers should take some of Utah's surplus to offset another set of tuition increases.
And joining us this morning is one of the leaders of that movement. His name is Jason Soulier. He's president of the Associated Students of the University of Utah. Jason, thanks very much for getting up and joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you had a rally last week, or was it the week before?
That's right, last week.
Last week, where you had a meeting of all sorts of student leaders from all over the state. That seemed to be pretty well received. Are you encouraged about the movement, and do you have some support from lawmakers?
Yes, we were very fortunate from the rally. We had a great turnout from every one of 9 public institutions in the state of Utah. Just from that rally alone, we've had some pockets of the legislators, some varied groups of legislators, call and offer their support for this TRI, for this tuition relief initiative.
How quickly are tuition rates rising?
Tuition rates are rising over the past about 7 or 8 years, about 3% faster than inflation. So at the University of Utah, we've had about a 7.5% increase over the last few years.
And you feel like this is pricing students out of an education?
I sure do. It's growing a lot faster than the cost of living. For example, if this trend continues in 2005, a 4-year degree could cost as much as $98,000 at the University of Utah. And I think that's well above the average budget of most Utahns.
How did the announcement of the Republican tax cut plan a couple of days ago strike you? I mean, I would think if that goes through, at least in its somewhat present form, there would be less money for everything, and tuition relief might be one of those optional things that might be kind of expendable in a budget under that format.
Well, I'm afraid so. I was disappointed to hear, not only for the benefits of public education, who uses the property tax, but as well, I feel when the state has economic prosperity, they should take advantage of that. Take advantage of the opportunity to maybe fix some of the problems we have in our state, because that economic prosperity won't always be there. And I think they should take advantage of that and not nickel and dime, but really solve some problems in the state.
What are the price increases for tuition attributed to?
Well, most of them are attributed to enrollment growth at most of the schools. But here at the University of Utah, where we haven't had the enrollment growth we anticipated, most of the tuition increases have simply gone to maintain services, which is frustrating as a student. We're paying more, and all it's doing is going to maintain our libraries, to maintain the offices of student services. We don't seem to be getting more from our tuition increase, which is what is frustrating.
Now, you have helped sponsor a piece of legislation that will be introduced during this legislative session, the Tuition Relief Initiative, I believe it's called. Now, are there any other things that you're asking for? In the past, you'd mentioned if there is any tuition increase, it should go towards services for the students and not salaries for the faculty?
That's right. Our tuition increase dollars, when we do pay them, goes to student services and faculty compensation. The student service portion is called the urgent student support. Part of that money comes from our tuition increase dollars, and part comes from the legislature. We're going to really depend on the legislature this year, as we have the last 3 years, for that urgent student support money to support the libraries and student service office on campus.
How supportive has the legislature been in the past? Have you gotten the money, or has the university gotten the money that it needs from the legislature?
I think all in all it's gone pretty well. There have been different examples like the Healthcare Trust lawsuit to urgent student support, where it's been different levels. But overall, I feel it's been pretty good. We've been very thankful for the support we've gotten in the state legislature. We're just hoping they'll take advantage of this year to solve some of the problems of higher education.
What about the argument, though, that there are so many pressing needs that the state of Utah faces right now? I mean, obviously the roads in this state are in pretty bad shape. And then some people are clamoring for a tax cut. If there is a surplus, give some tax relief to the people who have paid the taxes.
I would mention 2 quick things to that. First of all, that we're only asking for about 10% of the tax surplus. That still leaves plenty of dollars for corrections or transportation or even a generous tax refund. Second of all, I feel that using it in higher education is a reinvestment in the future of Utah. If we can lower the cost of education, students will get through faster, and it will save the state money in the long run. So I feel like if they can use the money now, we'll actually have more money in the long run for transportation, for another tax refund. It'll be really an investment in the future of Utah.
What do you see the future of education, higher education, being in Utah if it continues at its current rate?
Well, I see a dangerous trend. I hope we don't mirror what happened in California to higher public education, where in 1 year they had about a 30% increase in tuition and really squeezed a lot of students out. They let their educational costs kind of get ahead of them and didn't really take care of them in times of economic prosperity. So I'm afraid if we don't do that, we might end up in that $98,000 scenario I mentioned earlier. Just kind of an out-of-control education where it would no longer be open access in public education.
Well, Jason Soulier, we thank you for coming in, and we wish you luck with the legislation as the session unfolds. It should be an interesting one. There's a lot of debate left on a lot of issues.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And still ahead this morning, as the rubble clears.